COVID or in person on your feet. So thank you for participating. The library, along with our partners at the MCMR, the Multicultural, Multiracial Community Council of Farmington and Farmington Hills, are really excited that you've joined us today for our keynote event. I am personally very excited about this keynote, more than I have been in a number of years. We've always had a range of dynamic speakers, those that ask us, our community, to dig deep, challenge our conscious and our unconscious biases, and come to uncomfortable but ultimately rewarding discoveries. But this year, we have the opportunity to reflect with a group whom we don't ordinarily hear from, our very own Farmington and Farmington Hills students. So again, welcome, guys. Collectively, we often talk about the importance of how important young people are to a movement's success, but how often do we actually turn to our youngest generation and hear what they have to say, learn from their lived experience as we try to move forward? It's our hope that by listening to their voices, we will add a needed dimension to our communities and our country's conversation about racism. Our panel is comprised of students from Farmington IDEA, chapters throughout our cities. And today's discussion will be moderated by our interim superintendent of Farmington Public Schools, Dr. Bobbie Goodrum. A quick note about the webinar format for those of you who may be less familiar with Zoom. At the bottom of your screen, if you're at a desktop or a laptop, I'm not sure it will be on a mobile device, but you'll see a Q&A button. So please use this feature to ask any questions of our panelists. Myself, I will keep an eye on any submissions that come in, and then it will have time at the end for our student panelists to address any questions or comments. And with that, I am very honored to introduce to you Dr. Bobbie Goodrum and the students from Farmington IDEA.
Thank you so much, Jennifer. And yes, we have, in addition to Farmington IDEA, which stands for Inclusion, Diversity, Equity, and Access, we also have other students who reside within Farmington who are here with us as well. So we're going to get started by first allowing you to introduce yourselves. And I know I sent a list of questions that was provided by MCMR, but I'm going to ask you, as you introduce yourself today, just to give your first name, your grade, your school, and one thing that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy means to you. So I'm gonna call names just to make it easier, and I'm gonna go in alphabetical order on the panelist list, which you can see by clicking on participants, all of you, so you know when you're coming up. And we are going to start with Akila.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Akila, and I'm a senior from Farmington High School. And Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy meant opening a door for a new wave of civil rights movements, young activists and organizers, and he really began the change that our country needed and still needs to become the best version of ourselves that we can be.
Thank you, Akila. And next we're going to go to Alyssa P.
Hello, everyone. My name is Alyssa Peak, and I go to North Farmington High School. I am a junior, and Dr. Martin Luther King's legacy means peace, hope, and dreams.
Thank you so much, Alyssa. And now Alyssa S.
Hi, my name is Alyssa Studvant. I am a junior at Mercy High School, and Dr. Martin Luther King's legacy to me means equality for all and the end to injustice.
Thank you so much. And Shari?
Hi, my name is Kari. I'm a senior at Mercy, and Dr. Martin Luther King's legacy means to me motivation and power.
Thank you, Kari, and I apologize for that. Next, we have James.
Hi, my name is James Johnson, and I go to Lakers Online Middle School. I'm in the 8th grade, and Dr. Martin Luther King's legacy means to have social justice in our society.
Social justice in our society. Thank you, James. And just FYI, I think that I don't know if you're having connectivity issues, but you were just a little broken up, so just be aware of that. Kanishka?
Hello. I'm sorry. So my name is Kanishka and I'm an 8th grader in Power Mill School. And for me, Dr. Martin Luther King legacy means to unite all the people of different racial backgrounds or any kind of people.
Thank you, Kanishka. Next we have Layla.
Hi, my name is Layla. I'm from East Middle School. I'm in 8th grade. And Martin Luther King's legacy meant to me, it really just meant, opening that door for all of us to be on an equal, level playing field, no matter what your race is.
Thank you, Layla. And next we have Sanjana.
Hi, my name is Sanjana. I'm a freshman at Farmington High School. And I think that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.'s legacy is important because it shows us that this country is capable of change.
Thank you. Shivani?
Hi, my name is Shivani, and I'm a 7th grader at Power Middle School. Martin Luther King's legacy meant freedom and equality for everyone, no matter their skin color. And he helped us to learn how to fight social injustice in our society.
Thank you. And Louis, did I skip you?
Yes, I was having connectivity issues.
Okay, my apologies. Would you like to go now?
Yes. My name is Louis Johnson. I am currently a sophomore at West Bloomfield High School. And what MLK's legacy means to me is he opened a door for people of my kind to have it easier in the world. It may not still be perfect, but he started a revolution that changed a lot.
Thank you, Louis. Stephanie A.
Hi, my name is Stephanie. I'm a junior at Farmington High School. And what Martin Luther King's legacy meant to me is basically that he opened doors for us to go into spaces that we couldn't before.
Thank you so much. And last but not least, Miss Victoria.
Hi, I'm Victoria. I'm a junior at Farmington. And Dr. King's legacy for me was like a new age of nonconformism, and basically saying that just because someone says something is correct doesn't mean you have to blindly follow it. So that was really important to me.
Thank you so much. Okay, so now we're going to get into our questions. Do all of you have the option, the raise hand icon at the bottom of your screen? And if you don't have that icon, then feel free just to raise your hand on screen because I can see all of you. So I'm going to ask the first question. Today, many schools, whether they be public schools, religious schools, or charter schools, remain racially and ethnically segregated or separated. What does that mean to you? Why is this, and what does it mean? Why do you think there's still so much separation in our schools? Okay, so let's go. We will start with Shivani.
I think that these schools are racially or ethnically segregated because some of today's society does not accept these people because of their appearance or the opinions they're entitled to hold. I think this is unjust because everyone deserves to be treated equally no matter their background.
Thank you very much. Okay, we're gonna now go, I don't know what order this is on my screen, but we'll go with Alyssa P.
One of the reasons that I believe this still happens today is because of the way our communities are and how those are still remain separated, how you can go 1 mile away and it could be predominantly white community, or 1 mile away could be predominantly Black community. And although communities are moving towards more diversity inside of actual schools, this still continues and people feel more comfortable with those who look like them. And this just all has to do with, not all, but a lot has to do with comfort and how we still remain separated.
Thank you. Alyssa S.
Alyssa P practically said what I was going to say. I totally agree. I feel like we kind of internalize ourselves and compartmentalize ourselves because we're more comfortable with people that look like us, maybe people who have gone through the same things, people from the same communities. And inside the school system, we kind of just roll with it instead of kind of like, because they don't want to make us uncomfortable or make us step out of our comfort zone. So they're not forcing us to do such things, such as go out of your comfort zone, sit with someone else, as we would have done when we were younger in elementary school. But now we have that choice to sit with who you want with at lunch table or sit who we want with during class. And so this kind of creates a barrier between you and the rest of the world, because you kind of block yourself off because you're like, well, these people look like me and these people go through the same things as me. So these people are my friends, rather having friends of all different types of races.
Thank you. And Shipra, your hand is up, but you're off screen. Did you want to respond?
Yeah, actually, you didn't call me. You didn't for the introduction, like telling my name and what school. You didn't call me.
Oh, I'm so sorry, Shipra. You can do that now, please.
Okay, so hi, my name is Shipra. I'm in 6th grade in Power Middle School, and MLK's dream, his legacy, it meant to me like it meant peace and perseverance and hope.
Thank you so much. Victoria?
I agree with what was said by everyone. Not only is it a comfort issue, but it's also a generational issue. If groups of people have been separated for hundreds of years and then all of a sudden you're not separated anymore, there's still going to be that apprehension to integrate. And it's on both sides. And so I think, people will say church is the most segregated place because Black people go with Black people and white people go with white people. Even though we have the option to join together, we still stick with what we know and what our parents and their parents taught us.
Okay, Sanjana?
I agree with what everyone said about like why it's happening. I just wanted to add that a lot of times when you're only with people who are like you, your world kind of becomes an echo chamber. So whatever you say is always just agreed with. And that's kind of how radicalization starts, always being with people that agree with you. So it's really important that we kind of interact with people that aren't like us so that we kind of get the pluses and minuses of our views so that radicalization and stuff like that doesn't occur so much in our lives.
Thank you. So again, each of you has the ability to reach out and to stretch and to go outside of your comfort zones. We always talk about different things that we can do in our community, and just reaching out to people who have different perspectives from you can help change or grow your own perspective and grow someone else's perspective as well. Okay, so our second question, there's a long history of historically Black colleges and universities and Hispanic serving institutions, as well as religious-based institutions, many different types of schools. Many numerically minoritized populations choose these institutions to counter the racist perspectives in majority or predominantly white serving institutions. Discuss the advantages and disadvantages, challenges and strengths between attending HBCUs, HSUs, and religious affiliated entities. Let's see, let's start with Lewis.
So some advantages with attending HBCUs and colleges of the same communities are the people who attend there, they don't have to deal with all the racism and hate experiences that they might get if they go to a different college. And they meet more people like them where they can get comfortable around and they can have good friends around. But some disadvantages and challenges of that is that they don't get that real world experience where if somebody is hating on you for the color of your skin or the way you dress or your culture, then they don't know how to deal with that once they get to the real world.
Thank you, Lewis. Let's see, Kanishka, I want to make sure that everyone gets a chance to speak. So I'm trying to make sure that I call on people who may not have answered the last question first. Kanishka?
Yeah, so one of the advantages is that People would get to know more of each other and learn every side of their perspective, and also recognize their worth of why they're there.
Thank you, Kanishka. James?
First, I think it's sad that some Black students and colored students have to resort to HBCUs and HSUs just because they're treated badly at their other school. And I think that they have a better chance to strive and achieve their goals with the people they can connect with.
Okay, James, I heard part of your response, but not all of your response. Are you and Lewis in the same house?
Yeah.
Would it be possible for you and him to share a computer?
I think I can move to a different area.
Okay. All right. Let's see. Who else do we have? Let's go with Akila.
So, as we all know, our society is built on the oppression of minorities and colored people, and people who are technically different from the majority, which is the definition of a minority. And having spaces that are designated for people who've been constantly oppressed, or that be by their skin color, their religion, or even their gender, is how you can start to build people up. Being surrounded by people in a community for the first time where you're accepted for who you are and you don't have to try to fit into what the majority looks like is how you can continually thrive. And having those spaces is so important for especially young people, because as minorities, we start to not really hate, but we start to see ourselves in what we don't have in comparison to the majority. And being surrounded by people who look like you, who practice the same religion as you, is something that is really empowering, truly.
Thank you, Akila. Let's go to Alyssa P.
So I have a lot of thoughts about these colleges and universities and institutions, as I've had friends who have chose HBCUs over top universities, and there's many reasons why they choose them. They have this family bond and connection that lasts a lifetime because you're so close and you become so close with people you meet there like a family. So this is just one big advantage, but I also see disadvantages because you learn from more diverse settings and you learn how to the real world, and going to other institutions that have mixes of races causes you to learn about it. And also you hear more, this goes back to the pro side, about more prominent people such as future Vice President Kamala Harris, how she attended Howard, which is an HBCU, or just a lot more prominent people who came from these universities and how they talk about how it's greatly impacted their lives. And you hear about this more and more often, and it causes people to realize, oh wow, that might be the place for me and where I fit in most.
Okay, thank you, Alyssa. Kari?
I think that HBCUs have a lot more advantages than disadvantages, but that's just my opinion. And my whole family pretty much graduated from HBCUs. And I often think that some of the misconceptions of HBCUs kind of put a bad rap on them sometimes, because there is still diversity at them, because, Black people or African American people aren't all the same. You have people from the Caribbean, you have people who watch anime, people who don't watch anime. There's all types of people from the South, from the North. So there's still diversity present. And then also, I think going off of what Akila said, I definitely think it is good for Hispanic serving institutions or things related, because it does kind of help to empower you. Because especially if you've gone to schools or been around people that are unlike you majority of your life, I think it's nice to have 4 years or however many years you're at that institution to be around people who look more like you, because now you're more confident in your own skin and being yourself, whatever that may be, even if it's not the stereotype of whatever group that you're a part of, but you're more confident in who you are.
Thank you. Shivani?
I was thinking the advantages of going to these colleges are that you're with people of generally your same race. And because of this, you'll experience less racism in these colleges. But the problem with that is that in the real world, you're expected to work with people of all different backgrounds and races. So you wouldn't be able to understand other people's perspectives. It'll be harder to understand other people's perspectives by going to these colleges.
Thank you. Let's go. James, were you able to get back on?
I'm still working on it. I'm trying to switch computers.
Yep, I still cannot hear you. So thank you.
Can you hear me?
It's very, very in and out. So let me know when you're all set, okay? Okay, Layla?
Excuse me. So I would definitely say there are advantages to going to HBCUs because you can learn and evolve with people who really know what it's like to be perceived differently because of the cultural differences. But a major disadvantage is when you leave those HBCUs, you're going to have a job and it's going to be a very different and maybe even a more difficult experience because you're going to be surrounded by different people with different backgrounds and it's going to be hard to interact, especially if you've been surrounded by, mostly the same people for the past 4 years. So I feel like that's a really big disadvantage.
Thank you. And Alyssa S.
For me, so in my opinion, I think HBCUs, HSUs, I feel like they are a good place to build up confidence and to see people that look like you, compared to the majority. But I also feel like they're kind of this, in a sense, they're kind of this alternate world, because in this world, you're surrounded with people who look like you. But in the world where like it's just one world, there are people from all over. They're going to be the majority, they're going to be the minorities. But in that world, you're surrounded by people who are the minorities. And so they kind of take away from the aspect of what's going to happen once you enter that world. Because when you're looking for a job, it's not going to be filled. There are some jobs where are filled with people who are minorities, but a lot of jobs are filled with people who are the majority. And so it kind of takes away from that. And then when you enter that world, you might become less confident because you're like, well, I don't really know what to do anymore. And also they provide a safe space for you, because for a lot of people, they might not grow up in a neighborhood where there are people who look like them, because I know that is true for me in a sense. But there are also areas where, like at Mercy, there is the majority, but there are also a lot of minorities. So Mercy is very diverse and we have that world, but then you can, such as different clubs that I might be in or different organizations that I might take part in, those are an alternate world where where there are people who look like me, who go through the same things, where there are also people who go through the same things who don't look like me. Sorry, that was kind of confusing.
No, I think we understood. Thank you so much, Alyssa. Stephanie?
I think one of the major advantages of going to an HBCU is just the education that they provide, because sometimes the classes that you take at an HBCU, you won't get that at a predominantly white institution. So like just on that basis, I feel like that gives HBCUs an advantage.
Thank you, Stephanie. Bonus points. Does anybody know where Dr. Goodrum got her undergraduate degree from? I think I've
Howard.
a few times. What did you say?
Howard? Did you say Howard?
That's right. I went to Howard University, just like Kamala Harris went to Howard University. Stacey Abrams went to Florida A&M. Oh no, Stacey Abrams went to Spelman. Keisha Lance Bottoms went to Florida A&M. So it's just, when you look at it, HBCUs have not really stopped a lot of people from being successful in the real world. Just FYI. So thank you, everyone. All right, so now we're gonna get a little bit deeper. So 2020, we saw a lot of movements in 2020, just as far as Black Lives Matter, which has been around for about 7 years now, but there were still a lot of deaths of unarmed Black people, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, George Floyd, but there was also the Me Too movement and Say Her Name movement. So when you, and we had the recent attacks on the US Capitol. So looking at all of this, what is the importance of the engagement of students in school districts across Michigan and the company in determining where we go in 2021? So this is a really good question. What is your role with everything going on? What can you do to make a difference? What is your role in shaping 2021? So we are going to start with Kanishka.
Okay, so the importance of the engagement of students in many school districts across Michigan and the country in determining where we need to go, because each and every student is unique in their own way. So they should get a chance to go everywhere which is related to studies or others. And also those people who knows that what they need to become in the future, it can be beneficial for them even into 2021. But those who doesn't know and have thoughts of different things, so each and every student should have an opportunity to the engagement to different places of schools, universities, etc. And what I think, what others think of you doesn't matter, because it doesn't change you, but what you believe of yourself matters, because it defines you. And so that is why each and every student has the right to choose their own path, and therefore also the right to be engaged in other activities.
Thank you, Kanishka. Very, very thank you. Let's see, let's go to Lewis.
I feel it is very important for school districts and students to engage in learning about these movements and what's going on, because it's important to see how they feel about the subject. And it's important for them to become uncomfortable and have these uncomfortable conversations about these topics, because they are the next generation. And I feel they will determine how the world will be next generation, and because they can stop how many wrongdoings have happened.
Thank you, Lewis. Let's go, Shivani.
I also think it's extremely important for students to be educated, and not only on current injustices, but also past injustices. That way our generation can fight the future injustices that happen in the future.
Thank you. Akila?
So I don't know, like for my entire life, I was always told that like politics or social justice isn't my place to be because I'm a young person. And I know most of the people here have heard the very same phrase, that it is, you know, we don't have a right to speak because we're not 18. We can't talk to our legislators, or we can't necessarily vote. But it's really frustrating because, you know, when people talk about like laws and like acts to pass and things like that, you know, they also affect us. Even though we can't necessarily vote for our legislators, we all have to abide by the rules as we live in this country. And it's incredibly frustrating that, like, when you think about our education system, they kind of force upon us like these cookie cutter molds. And I know we, in our idea group, we talked about how, you know, they give off these like impressions that, you know, straight, heterosexual, white, majority themed topics and things like that. So you never really get to experience the world of social justice, and our education school system doesn't really prepare us to think outside of the box or outside of the majority or outside of those cookie cutter molds. And I think that every student should have the opportunity to have these difficult conversations to break these echo chambers that we have built generationally, because it's only further dividing us, and we need to be able to have these difficult conversations. And having students being engaged in these kind of conversations is how we can progress forward and create inclusive spaces where all people, regardless of your gender, your age, your ethnicity, your religion, feel free to speak and have a place to talk, and can really do something, create a movement. And I think with 2020 and the COVID-19 pandemic, we were all forced to see all the disparities in front of us. We couldn't just close our eyes and continue with our regular life because they were so blatantly obvious. And we need to continue with that momentum forward. And that's what we need to keep doing. We need to keep having students in those decision-making spaces and having students talk about these kind of things, because as Lewis said, we are the next generation. We can't just sit back and wait for an invitation. We have to go out and make things for ourselves. And by starting in middle school and high school, we are building that foundation to have that power to break these echo chambers, to reach across the aisle, and to really make impactful differences in the future.
Thank you. Alyssa P.
First, I would just like to say, Akila, you worded everything perfectly. That was beautiful. I would like to talk specifically about in schools and in school districts, and how we want to promote an environment where students feel free to express how they're feeling and what they have gone through. And I do believe that FPS does a great job of communicating where we do not tolerate hate or racism by sending out those mass emails that, for example, Dr. Goodrum sent out last week, or that Mr. Green or Mr. Shelton, the principals of the high school, send out. They make it clear that our community will not tolerate this, and that we should be able to have these free conversations and know that we're a part of this history. And this is just, school should be a place where teachers should be able to lead discussions about topics and not have students upset. They should just be able to carry on and say what they feel and talk about what is going on in their lives.
Okay, thank you. Victoria?
Yeah, I agree with what everyone said, but I just want to say, like, just thinking back at what school, like the invention of school, that was made for white people, more specifically white men, so they would, succeed and everyone else would fail. And through this curriculum that has been built over decades, it's made for certain people to learn to think a specific way, so they act in that way, which then keeps going, and the process keeps going, and basically brainwashing individuals to abide by rules that they shouldn't have to abide by. And so when you introduce difficult and controversial subjects that make you uncomfortable, it's allowing you to see both sides instead of one person's complete bias. And it's making for educated individuals, which means, I think Lewis said, we are the next generation, and the generation after us, we are going to be influencing life. And we have these older, more typically older white gentlemen making rules to, control us. We should be able to see the entire picture and then make the assumptions, whereas you show the pictures that you like and then have us make opinions based off of that. So I think it's good that we need to talk about these things, and police brutality and the say her name, and how, Black women are underrepresented. I think if you are getting uncomfortable, then you're feeling what we feel. So I think it's incredibly important, because overall we need to educate this generation so we don't have repeats.
Thank you, Victoria. And Alyssa S.
So in my opinion, everyone experiences everything in a different way, and that's what makes it so different, but yet in a sense we are so alike. Because for Gen Z, we're expected to act like adults, but we're not treated in that way because we're considered young adults. But yet in the world that is created for us, there are 14 and 15-year-olds giving birth, and there are though there are government officials who were teenagers during segregation leading us, and they're practically leading us in a circle, because the same things that happened in the 1920s, 1930s, 1940s are happening today, and that should not be acceptable, because we have a voice, but yet we are being silenced because, oh, we're still children, but yet we're experiencing things only adults should have to experience. We're experiencing racism in our schools, and we're experiencing racism just overall throughout our daily lives. Teenage girls are afraid to walk down the street by themselves, so they have their friends walk with them. So we're experiencing all these things that adults experience, but yet we're half their age. And so we should have that opportunity to have our voices heard, because when my parents were kids, they could ride their bike all night long and their parents wouldn't worry about where they were. But for us, you have to be in by the lights come on. It's a different world, and so we should adapt to that world, adapt to the change, and let the younger generation, high schoolers, younger generation lead, because we're the future. We're going to be the president and ambassadors and doctors and lawyers. We're going to be explorers. We're going to pave the way for what our future has to hold. So we should be able to have a say in how our future is created.
Thank you. Okay, so this is almost like a follow-up question. This is something that some of you talked about, which is curriculum, and just the way that our curriculum is structured. So do you think that schools should endorse an anti-racist curriculum? And if so, what does that look like to you? What does that mean for you? And and explain why you think they should, and or why not if you don't think they should. All right, James, let's try. Let's see.
I think they should, because if young people don't get taught now, it'll be bad in the future, because they won't know what's right from wrong, and it'll just be a repeat of the stuff that's going on now.
Thank you so much, James. Sanjana.
I think we should endorse the anti-racism curriculum, because we have the opportunity to make school a place where students can come and learn how to be accepting, because we don't know how those people live at home and how those people are taught at home. So when kids come to school for 8 hours a day, when they're young, like in elementary school, the schools have the opportunity to shape their view of the world. And the best way to do that is to make it so that they are accepting of all people, because otherwise, 20 years from now, when they're adults, they're going to be bigoted because all they learned was at home, learning from parents who thought that way.
Thank you very much. Victoria?
Yeah, I think definitely schools should promote anti-racism, and in the curriculum and just in the school life in general. For example, Black History Month, putting a picture of Rosa Parks in the hallway is not anti-racism. That's literally the bare minimum. And saying a couple facts over the announcement, that's really great, but you're still teaching us that George Washington wore wooden dentures when in fact those were slave teeth. So if you want to change how people think, you have to start from the roots. And that's not saying, okay, well, happy Juneteenth. It's let's go back and relook at the curriculum and take out the parts where we colonize this information. And that's most of it, but that's okay, because we're going to redo it. And we're going to give the entire picture. George Washington, he wasn't the greatest of people, but he did do something amazing. So I will give him that. However, you can't just tell me that he did something amazing without telling me what else he did. I need to have a clear, unbiased explanation of who this person was. And so a lot of American history completely idolizes straight white men. And we completely ignore anyone who is not, who doesn't fit that mold. And so to promote anti-racism, we need to stop filling people's heads with this literal garbage that's not true. So, it started at the little level. I remember learning about George Washington I don't know, when I was 6 or something. And from then on until like 8th grade, I was like, George Washington is the coolest, man. And then, you know, someone's like, no. So I feel like we need to start early and just, yeah, it's going to take a while to redo this curriculum and undo a lot of damage, but we need to start now, or else we could have, you know, another raid at the Capitol, or, you know, people being shot because of their skin color.
Thank you very much. Let's see, let's go to Akila.
I mean, exactly what Victoria said. Racism and discrimination can be learned as well as unlearned. It's not an inherent biological, psychological trait that we naturally do. It's a learned trait, so we can unlearn it as well. And like Victoria said, it's all cookie cutter molds. You know, in history and English class, even in our entire curriculum, it is all, you know, white centric. We take, like, if you're thinking about like in the world, in like world history class, you know, we learn about Europe the entire time. The only time we learn about Africa is when, you know, Europe colonized it, and it went in with the notion that, you know, there wasn't like civilization before, you know, the Europeans came. That's completely wrong. You know, there was civilization, there was architecture, there was culture, there was language, there were so many beautiful things, but we have this colonized version of education that puts this notion that every other person who wasn't white, or every country that was not European, they were all uncivilized, had no culture, nothing. And then the Europeans came, settled, colonized it, and made it better. When in fact, that's not true at all. And we are brainwashing so many generations of people to believe that this idea is so true. And it's not just in history, it's in English class. We all only learn about straight white men. And I think the farthest I've ever gone was learning about a Latina woman, or, you know, maybe a Jewish man, but that's still not far enough. We need to learn about the learned experiences of all the minorities to really get a comprehensive understanding of what our world really looks like, because we are imprinting on kids from the ages of 5 to 18. And then even in college, because let's be real, college is the same thing. It's a lot of Eurocentric, it's a lot of white centric, unless you take specific courses that you learn about Black history, Asian history, Latinx history. You don't really get that experience. And we are teaching kids from 5 to, let's say, I don't know, 22, 24, this flawed perspective of what our world looks like, our worldview, how things were created, when in reality, it's just a colonized version. So we need to start now, and we need to start with kids from like 5th, 6th, 7th, even below that, because it can be unlearned and it can be learned as well. We need to have diversity within our education.
Thank you. Shivani?
I believe that there should be an anti-racism course. I feel like students should be required to take that course. And also our history teachers should touch deeply on the racism that has happened in the past. Like, my teachers have only taught me about how the Europeans, Christopher Columbus, came to America, not about how the Native Americans were there before that. So I feel like that should really be taught in our curriculum.
Thank you. Alyssa P?
Personally, I don't know why there wouldn't be anti-racism curriculum already embedded in our curriculum from the youngest age possible. We have February, and we do little stuff here and there, but that has never been enough. And students are still embedded with these thoughts and ideas that they hear from home or outside of their home. And in schools, where it should be a learning environment, that's where students should, like Akila said, unlearn all of their thinking. And this curriculum should support anti-racism and diversity, especially in a diverse district like ourselves. And it should always just be embedded in our learning from the youngest age possible.
Thank you. Layla?
I think that every school should, because our current curriculum, like, you know, U.S. history in particular, is extremely like whitewashed, and horrible events are downplayed. And it's really frustrating having to get all of the proper information that we need to unlearn certain behaviors, like Akila said. from the internet when it's the schools who should be teaching us, no matter how uncomfortable it may be. So, yeah.
Thank you. And Sanjana, is your hand still up or did you have something else to say?
I forgot to take it down, sorry.
Okay. Akila, is your hand still up? Or, I mean, did you wanted to say something else?
Yeah, I just wanted to add that once we do start adding these anti-racist like curriculum, we need to make sure that it's not performative activism or performative, like what I think our entire school system, or not entire, but the entire current curriculum is. When we learn about like Black History Month, we learn about Martin Luther King Jr., Rosa Parks, Harriet Tubman, and maybe that's about it. Like the basic 2 to 3 people. There are so many iconic figures, even just Black figures, who have done so many important things, like Marsha P. Johnson, who helped get equality as a transgender Black woman. And it's amazing the fact that I never learned about her for 17 years. And I just found out about her when I was learning about the Equal Rights Amendment and the move for equality. And I was like, you know, as great as those figures are, there's so many people who are change makers and like very, very vital to movements and social justice that we never once learned about. So we need to make sure that once we do get that curriculum in, it is not performative, it is eye-opening, and it's breaking those echo chambers.
Thank you. Victoria?
And just to add on to what Akila said, I think a lot of history involving people of color is downplayed, like severely. You know, they talk about slavery, oh, it was bad, you had to pick cotton, then Harriet Tubman fixed it, and then Martin Luther King fixed segregation. It's like, no, it was a lot worse. And yeah, it's some things I agree, some things about slavery we can just skip because it's like a lot. But the problem is when we talk about the Holocaust and watch those horrible videos that probably should not be allowed in school, and that's what we focus on for the rest of the year. But we had a Holocaust. We're just ignoring it right now. And I just think, like Akila said, we can't completely make it, pretty. We can't say it was bad, but it's okay now. No, it's bad and it's still bad, but we're working to fix it. And I think by acknowledging that it's not perfect right now, I think we can solve a lot of problems.
Thank you. Okay, we are coming down on our time. We have one last question. So outside of your participation in school, what is your lived experience in looking at issues of inclusion, diversity, equity, and access in your community life, whether it be retail or activities or things that you do outside of school and with your neighborhood interactions. So our Farmington community, in your neighborhoods where you shop, where you live, what has been your lived experience with inclusion, diversity, equity, and access? And remember, a lot of the answers and things that we've heard today have been really about, racial equity, which, but we're looking for equity for everyone, regardless of, their gender identity, their religion, their race or ethnicity, anything. So we have a very, very diverse community across the board. So what has been your lived experience in our community, just as far as how you see inclusion, diversity, equity, and access? Okay, Shivani, I was like, where are the hands? You guys have been so just like on it. Where are the hands? Okay, Shivani.
I was gonna say, I have these neighbors across the street. They came from Ukraine, and they're really what shines like IDEA, our club. They always come over to try our food and to learn about our culture, and they love listening about our culture and they love telling us about theirs. And they're really like role models and inspirations because they really model what IDEA means.
Thank you. That is beautiful. Kanishka?
Okay, so for me, like my interaction with whomever I have met has been kind and in a positive way, no matter where I am.
Okay, thank you, Kanishka. Anyone else? We had a lull. Akila?
So this isn't necessarily like Farmington community, but it's like another community that I'm part of. So I'm an organizer and I'm an activist, and I'm very into social justice. And one thing that like I've learned within my social justice like movement and advocating for others is about intersectionality. And especially when I advocate for gender equality, one thing that I learned is you can't talk about gender equality without talking about racism, especially within the first movement for, say, the Equal Rights Amendment. They put all the Black women in the back, which is not what this is about. This is not what the new wave of feminism is about. It's about, being inclusive and creating spaces where every single voice is heard. And that's something that is really important to me as a social justice advocate, finding spaces for which minorities and people who necessarily could not have places to speak, even though we're advocating for change, are still included in the process.
Thank you. Victoria?
So for me, I can't do a lot, during the pandemic and everything, but I try to educate myself not only on the points that I believe in, but in points that I necessarily don't, just to kind of understand and get a full, circle. So I'm not just saying the same thing over and over. I can actually understand where someone else is coming from. And that's a big thing for me, because I feel like a lot of people, especially on social media, open their mouth without doing any research. And so it's kind of frustrating when you're talking to someone and they're just like, you can just tell that they don't know what they're talking about. And so I don't want to be that person. And even if it's, just a book here or maybe like a post on social media, it's helping me to understand where people are coming from and to make my points stronger. But that's really what I've been doing, is just education.
Thank you. Alyssa S?
So my mom, she used to work for Comey Detroit Race for the Cure, and she was the race director. And so the whole aspect of the race is to support and raise awareness for breast cancer, which it affects practically everyone: men, women, Hispanic community, Caucasian community, African American community. And this really opened the doors for me, because once you go to the race, it's an amazing sight. I go almost every year. You see everyone, you see people of different races, religions, and they're all supporting one cause, is to defeat breast cancer. And it really opens your eyes to realize that when there's something evil, like in a sense, when there's something evil enough, that we can come together and fight it together, because it's just a great sight to see everyone and all the different women and their different body types. So that supports feminism, and everyone who just is there to support one another, even those who have not had to endure breast cancer, or have not had that burden on their family, that they're just coming here to support friends, support the community, just coming there to support the organization and the cause overall. So that's really opened my eyes.
Thank you. Yes, it is possible for people who are not even impacted by something to come together and to work, towards finding a cure or ending something. So even when we look at protests against police brutality, just because you've had, say, for instance, you've always had positive interactions with police, because, most of everyone's interactions with police are positive. But just because you have never experienced a negative interaction with a police officer doesn't mean you can't support people in your community who have. And that's just one example. If we all come together as a community to support each other, even if we've never personally experienced it, if you tell me that you've experienced it and you're my neighbor, and I respect you, then I care, and I'm going to fight for you to make you feel, like that you belong to this community, and I'm here for you as well. So excellent, excellent, excellent example, Alyssa. So we are nearing the end. We have about 5 minutes left. And I know that I think that Ms. Hassel was looking at the questions to see what we have, but while we're doing that, I just want to tell you all how proud I am to be sitting here in this virtual space with you all. And I just feel like I couldn't have written your answers better if I did. Your original thoughts and your answers were all very wonderful, and we just are very fortunate to have you in our community, to have each of your voices, and have each of you as advocates for this work in your schools, in our community. And I just hope that as you all, some of you are preparing to leave, some of you are middle school, I hope that everyone remains committed to social justice, because it is important. It is what we do in order to make this world a better place. So Ms. Jennifer?
Yes. Got a lot of questions. I see some of the students went ahead and answered in the Q&A too. Lots of praise for everyone for speaking up. I'm going to read a couple comments, and then Ms. Goodrum, I'll just go through some of the questions and you can call on the kids. I did want to mention that I thought this was important. One of our attendees mentioned directly to Victoria. Victoria, as a Holocaust Center docent and speaker, I very much appreciate your comments, and I will be sure to consider them in tours and presentations I give. So that was something that was taken to heart. Mr. Giacino asked about faith in, let me just scroll back up. How does faith background inform the choices and roles to make and assume respectively? Did you guys have thoughts on faith?
Sanjana?
Faith definitely matters because different faiths have different ideas for how different people should be treated. There's different roles for men and women in different faiths. And it's when people from different faiths interact, we need to make sure that we're all respected. You know, if you feel that women and men are equal, I feel that way, then, you know, so be it. If you feel that in your religion that's you know, you think differently, I'm not gonna like try and stop you. We're all respected, you know, if you feel that, but we need to make sure that we're not really fighting with each other or staying completely apart, because I know that when I go to school, I predominantly sit with the people who are of my faith, and I need to work on that. And I think that everyone needs to work on things like that, because we're creating those echo chambers.
Thank you, Sanjana. Alyssa P?
Yes, personally for faith, I've always practiced religion all my life. I've always been a Christian, always identified that, but I do believe faith can be something that brings us together or tears us apart, because we can all come together and all different types of people can have a similar religion. You can look different, have no money, be very wealthy, and you could say identify as a Muslim, a Christian, Jewish, any religion, and you can come together, and this can form a community rather than tearing apart and disagreeing and saying that I don't agree with you because of this, and our religious practicing does this. No, you can come together and this can form a beautiful community.
Thank you, Alyssa. Anyone else want to answer that question before we go to the next one? Kanishka?
Yeah, for me, sorry. So for me,
You still have an echo. I'm sorry, Kanishka. And I don't know why that is.
Dr. Goodrum, would you like me to go to the next
okay,
question?
so can you hear me now?
Oh.
Yes.
Wait, now I can't hear you.
Let's go to the next question in the interest. Oh, it's 3 o'clock right now. What do we?
You know, we do have a little more time if the students, I don't know.
Okay, so for me, the faith, like for me, many people have different kinds of faith. Okay, so many people have different kinds of faith. Like some of them can be religious, one person believes. For example, one person believes that you should speak whatever is good for others, like good comments about others. And other people thinks that you should not give all the comments of how the person looks, because that can hurt someone. So every person have different perspectives of faith and beliefs.
Thank you, Kanishka. And I think Ms. Hassel, we should go ahead and wrap things up.
Okay.
So
there are lots of, go ahead.
Oh, no, you can go ahead. You go ahead first.
I just wanted to say, for those who did Q&A in the chats, thank you. I know, again, to the students and to Dr. Goodrum, there's lots of praise heaped on in the Q&A as well as questions. But I would implore the attendees, the adults in the room, shall we say, there's a lot of chit chat on the whatever social media platforms you're on about the youth of today. And I often think of this group of young people when I think about when people are talking about these generalizations that we like to talk, whether, generational divides. So I implore you, and maybe anyone that isn't here today, to think of these students as much, if not more, of the voice of the people who are younger than those adults in the room. Don't necessarily have to think about our social media influencers as those people as those who are setting the table right now. It takes a village, but please remember this part of the village. They're so important to our conversation. So thank you, students, so much for sharing your views, your insights. And as a side note, we have recorded this, and as soon as we're sure we have permission via the public schools, we will, for anyone who's online who says, oh, someone would love to hear this, we'll try to be making it available in the future to watch. So from the library, I'd like to say thank you to everyone for joining us today, and enjoy your evenings.
Thank you. And Ms. Hassel, if it's possible for us to get a copy of the Q&A, I wasn't able to follow it while I was facilitating, even though some of the community won't hear our responses, but I'd love to have some of these discussions with the students in our club. So that would be great.
I will definitely.
Everybody, you all did a fantastic job. I am so proud. I love you all so much. You're wonderful. I hope you have an enjoyable rest of your day.
Have a great day, folks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr.
Bye-bye.
Goodrum.
You're welcome.
Have a great day, everyone.
Have a nice day, everyone.
Okay.
I didn't get a chance to say hi. Hi.
Hi, Ms. Pearson.
How are you?
Good. We are probably still streaming to the participants. So
hold on, we're gonna remove everybody.
Yep.
It's gonna take me just a
and
second.
stop recording.